Throughout my junior year English 3 class with Mr. Snowman, I have learned many important aspects and life lessons, whether it be through learning how to write correctly or analyzing important texts through themes and symbolism. I'd say it was a very beneficial and fun year. The first aspect I will be covering is the TWPAE plus MLA method. First off, how to properly set up your paper through use of the MLA format. Mr. Stoneman effectively taught us how to properly write your heading with use of the 12-point Times New Roman font double spaced. He then taught us how to properly indent each paragraph and cite in-text citations, which we will go through more thoroughly later on. Next, we have the proper way to construct a well-written paragraph, which would be through the use of the TWPAE method. First is the topic sentence, or the T. This is your BAM statement of the paragraph. It is there to give the reader a good idea of what's to come in the preceding paragraph. Then there's the W, or write the quote. In this section of the paragraph, you will be adding your textual evidence in the form of a quote. Before entering the quote, you will want to provide context. For example, where, when, and what's happening in the story. Then you will take your quote, break it up into two or more smaller sections, and tuck it into the natural flow of your voice. Thus, you should be able to take the quotations out, and it would look and sound like a well-written, continuous flowing sentence. Next is the P, or paraphrasing. In other words, you are taking your quote and putting it into your own words so that the reader can get a better understanding and visual of what you were trying to say or portray. After that is the A, or analysis. In this section, you will be describing the type of literary term in your quote. And finally, the E, or evaluation. In the final sentence of your paragraph, you will be explaining the effectiveness of your quote through the use of a literary term and restating your main point of the paragraph. And that right there is how you properly write a paragraph with the TWPAE method. Next, I will be talking about something we did that I found very useful, especially through my journey with the ACT standardized testing. The MUG practice, or specifically the mechanics, usage, and grammar practice, was very beneficial to me. At the beginning of this year, we would start every class with a MUG to sharpen our spelling, grammar usage, and proper sentence writing. Some examples of what we learned include knowing when period equals semicolon equals comma plus fanboy, along with things such as non-essential clauses, commas before introductory phrases, and other grammar situations. Now I'll be taking Next, I will be talking about the first and only novel we read in this class, which was 1984 by George Orwell. This story was very beneficial to our class because it was the start of a very common theme throughout the rest of our books, which was government plus technology will only lead to bad things. This was also the start of how we looked into if these authors were writing the stories as satires, or in other words, warnings for us for that if something like this ever happens, it will not be good. Next, we have the famous play Macbeth, written by William Shakespeare. In Macbeth, we looked at the themes of a tragic flaw/hero, how overambition and power can corrupt someone, along with symbolism, for example, the daggers. The idea of a tragic hero is when someone who is all around loved by everyone can be so quickly corrupted and hated by everyone. This happens when someone gets overambitious, especially with power, which leads to the corruption of them and inevitably their death. Furthermore, we read the nonfiction book by Steve Callahan, Adrift: 76 Days Lost at Sea. In this book, we looked more at the real-life tie-ins rather than analyzing and pulling it apart like the other stories. We looked at how Callahan kept a stable mindset throughout his journey adrift, and how it completely changed his life. At first, his main goal with the book was to inform others of how to survive if they were ever in a situation like he was. But now he realized his main reason was to show people that they should take nothing for granted, because you can lose everything in the blink of an eye. Number 7 on our list is our short story unit. There is a clear main theme throughout these 4 stories, being technology equals danger. I believe all these four stories serve as satires as well for us, our kids, and future generations to warn us of the dangers of technology. Also, to show that we need to go back to more human connection and not let technology take over our lives completely. Lastly, the connections. I think Mr. Stillman chose these texts within a line of trying to teach us very valuable life lessons. Whether it be keeping a stable mindset, not being overambitious, or not letting technology take us over, Mr. Stillman incorporated various life lessons throughout each book, and that's why I love this class so much. Thanks again, Mr. Stillman, and I'll miss you next year.